welcome back to my channel. I'm here to give you an update on how our follow-up appointment went following our failed frozen embryo transfer with a PGS normal embryo. I had my follow-up appointment, or what the fuck appointment, on Monday, so almost a week ago now. I haven't had a chance to get on here and film. I have been quite confused as to how I feel about it all and the plan moving forward, and so I haven't really known how to communicate my thoughts to you guys, as well as being at work during the week. I haven't had much time to sit down properly and let you know how it went. For those of you who follow me on Instagram and Facebook, you'd have a rough idea of what was discussed and how I feel about it all, but I'll go into a bit more detail. There's only so much you can write in an Instagram post. Basically, she kind of agreed with me on a lot of things. I don't feel like there were any things that were suggested that weren't already on my radar or things that I was already thinking about. She agreed that it sounded like it was an embryo issue, the fact that the embryo was collapsed at time of transfer and it hadn't re-expanded between thaw and transfer could have been a sign that the embryo was struggling from the thaw process. She doesn't think it's an autoimmune problem because I was on an immune protocol, I was on steroids, intralipids, and the embryo didn't even implant. And I have had many pregnancies previously without being on any kind of immune medications, and I have gotten close to 10 weeks in a pregnancy, so it doesn't seem likely that that was the reason why the transfer failed. She agrees that it's more likely to have been an embryo issue and just bad luck. That kind of brought us to discussing our recent fertilization report for our most recent stim cycle, which was our third stim cycle. We had 15 mature eggs and only 4 fertilized, which was very odd, and that was with ICSI. She agrees that the stim medications for IVF could have had a negative effect on the quality of the eggs, and she said maybe IVF's not for you, it's not for everyone. I just thought, okay, well, didn't really know what to think of that comment. She also said it could very well be due to a lab issue or the person doing the ICSI that day, which doesn't make you feel confident in doing another cycle when, you know, human error could be involved and they're not being made accountable for it, or they're not owning up to making errors. We'll never know. That's the thing, we'll never know whether it was a lab issue because they will never admit to it. It's too easy for them to just blame the unknown, the nature of IVF, the gamble that is IVF. So, yeah, that's very frustrating. The other reason she thinks that it could have been a lab issue is because my previous ICSI fertilization report at another clinic, I had 6 out of 8 eggs fertilized, so that's what you'd expect. I did ask her whether she thinks we need to go down the egg donor, sperm donor, embryo adoption route, and she said no, you're nowhere near that stage yet. At this point, doctors being confident doesn't mean much to me. There's only so much they can control, and we are a bit of a rare case. We have still got a frozen embryo. It wasn't PGS tested, so we don't know whether it's chromosomally normal or not. It is a C grade embryo, so it's the same grade as the embryo that we just transferred that failed. There are many babies that were born who were originally C grade embryos, so I know it doesn't mean much, but I did ask her. The clinic that I go to don't even freeze D grade embryos, so it makes me wonder how fine that line is between C grade and D. I'm guessing for some embryos it is a very fine line. Anyway, we've still got one frozen. At this point we don't know when we're going to transfer that embryo. My specialist wants to do a laparoscopy and hysteroscopy on me to see what's going on in my uterus and to rule out things that could be potentially preventing us from conceiving and carrying on a full-term pregnancy. I have had a laparoscopy before. It was a year following our first miscarriage and D&C in October 2014. I had the laparoscopy end of 2015 when we'd been trying for a year with no luck following the miscarriage, and it was discovered my tubes had become damaged following the D&C. I must have got a minor infection I had no symptoms for, and it caused damage to my tubes. So my left tube is fully blocked and my right tube is partially blocked. At the time of the laparoscopy, my doctor flushed my tubes with dye and water to see if they were blocked, and doing that must have cleared something in my right tube because I conceived weeks later after that surgery. So that laparoscopy was 2 years ago in November, coming up to 2 years ago, so it'll be good to see what state my tubes are in. I have a feeling my right tube has blocked up again, so I'm hoping she'll be able to clear it. She won't just be flushing my tubes with water and dye. She'll be using a Laparoscopy oil, which is an iodized poppy seed oil, and it's been proven to show significant benefits, cleanses the fallopian tubes. She gave me an article to read on the iodized poppy seed oil. The article talks about a study that was performed by researchers in Australia and the Netherlands, and found about 40% of infertile women successfully fell pregnant after this iodized poppy seed oil flush or lipid oil flush. They found it especially benefited people who have unexplained infertility, or potentially blocked tubes or partially blocked tubes. She'll also be checking for Asherman syndrome, which is scarring of the uterus. At the time of my last laparoscopy 2 years ago, I didn't have any scarring in my uterus, but I've had 2 D&Cs since then, so I'm curious. I'm just praying again that there's no scarring of any kind. The other thing we discussed that was also on my list of things to ask her about was the fluid that can build up in a damaged tube that can leak out and potentially prevent embryos from implanting or cause miscarriage. My specialist pronounced it hydrosalpingi. I wouldn't have pronounced it that way if I was reading it, but that's how she pronounced it. She'll check for that. If my left tube is very damaged, and it does have that, she will remove it. I'm just praying that my right one is fine. So yeah, that's the plan for the surgery. I will be having that surgery in 4 weeks' time. So I'm not looking forward to it. I was hoping I could just do an HSG, which is where they flush the dye in your uterus to see if your tubes are open. That costs quite a bit of money, and if there is an issue that's detected, they won't be able to do anything about it. So she said you may as well just have the surgery. That way, if we do see an issue, we can just rectify it and fix it as best she can. So I'm not looking forward to having another laparoscopy. I was really hoping to avoid having to have another one of them. The recovery last time was not fun at all. It was mainly the pain caused from the gas they put inside of you during surgery to see what they're doing. It causes so much pain to your nerves, and it rises in your body and caused me so much pain in my neck and chest, and it was awful. So I'm not looking forward to that, but I'm hoping we'll get answers and positive news and good news. It's scary. I don't know what they'll find. Seeing as IVF hasn't been kind to us, we're hesitant to go into another stim cycle. It may be on the cards next year, but at this stage I think the plan is to have the laparoscopy surgery, have my tubes flushed, or my tube flushed, my right one, and see what happens naturally. Have a bit of a break from IVF. I'll be honest, this last week I've just been feeling quite defeated and not sure how I feel about this plan. Trying naturally is scary. One of the main reasons we did IVF with PGS testing was so we could eliminate the chances of conceiving a chromosomally abnormal embryo and it resulting in a miscarriage. I've had 6 miscarriages now, and so the thought of having a 7th is just, we were just trying to eliminate as much heartache as possible. It's already been a really tough journey. You know, we've been on it for 3.5 years now, and we just want to catch a break. And so trying naturally is of course scary because we haven't had a good run. We're in that 1% of couples who have recurrent miscarriage. So it's just the unknown, and we've just got to have faith and trust, I guess. It's the same with the embryo that we've got frozen. We don't know whether it's chromosomally normal or not. So we will transfer that embryo at some stage, just don't know when yet. We will try naturally for a few months, I think, and just be free of IVF and treatments. My fertility specialist has given me letrozole to take. I stupidly didn't ask why she was giving it to me. I believe it's to help mature the eggs. I don't know whether more eggs are released at time of ovulation. It is kind of like a stimulating of the ovaries medication. So I don't really know, to be honest, why she's given that to me, because I ovulate on my own every month. My cycles are regular. So yeah, not exactly sure of the reason, but I'll be sure to find out and ask her. So yeah, I feel like we're kind of back at square one a little bit, but hopefully we get some answers from this laparoscopy and good news. Hopefully it's just one step closer to our rainbow baby. I'm sure I'm leaving heaps of stuff out. I think you can probably tell I'm still a bit all over the place as to how I feel about everything. Yeah, I don't know. I'm feeling a bit lost, but no matter which path we go down, it's scary. You know, doing another IVF cycle, stim cycle is a scary thought, and trying naturally is a scary thought as well. So we've just got to do our best to trust the journey and have faith that everything will work out in the end eventually. Thanks so much for everyone's kind support and comments. I need to spend some of today replying to them. I've been a bit slack. It's been very busy at work and I've been coming home exhausted. I haven't been in the best headspace. I'm feeling better today, so I'll make sure I find the time to respond to some of your lovely messages. I appreciate every one of them. I hope some of you are having some luck in your journey. Positive stories are always appreciated. I think it gives hope to others. I think I've also been feeling quite down at the thought that we're in October and it is almost the end of the year. Going into 2017, we had such high hopes for this year, as I'm sure many of you can relate to. The thought of ending another year with no baby in sight is quite difficult. The thought of entering another holiday season without a baby in sight is tough, especially as we've just gone to one of the best specialists in Melbourne. The IVF cycle was not what we expected it would be, not what we'd hoped it would be, and we don't really have many answers. And as we do every year, I just hope next year will be different. It is beyond exhausting, and I know many of you will be able to relate. Just going to keep on persevering and fighting. I hope you're all doing really well. If you've got any questions, please leave them down below, and I'll speak to you in my next video. Bye guys.